All right, guys, so it's back to the hedge trimmer here again. I got two more things left to do before I think it's good. I got to sharpen it, number one. It's a little bit dull. I tried to cut a boxwood with it, and it just wasn't sharp enough. It wasn't cutting it good. So I want to try to sharpen it. And I'm going to change out the fuel lines, the fuel filter, and the grommet on the tank. And Echo sells kits that are called repower kits, and they don't actually list it in the parts manual for my machine. I think they were too old, that they didn't make a kit for it at that point in time, but it looks like there's really two grommets for the fuel tank that they use. One has 3 holes and one has 2. In the past, I had gotten aftermarket ones and they never worked right, so I don't want to waste my money on them anymore. And what I did is I went back to my parts diagram and I found all the part numbers of the individual parts, and there's 3 hoses, a fuel filter, a vent canister, and the grommet. And in the parts diagram, I was able to take those part numbers and cross-reference them to the parts that are in one of these repower kits, and I'll show you what I got. So I picked this up. It's 90097Y, and it's not made for this. It's made for some weed whackers. It says SRM 210, a couple models on there, whatever. But what I found is that it has, see, it comes with this kit where you got the grommet with the lines pre-installed. So if it was the right one, all you got to do is pop out this grommet and drop it in, and you're pretty much done. But it was cheaper for me to buy this kit, which came with the filter, the canister, and the grommet, even though some of these hoses are wrong. And all the hose is the same stuff, it's just different lengths. So I'm basically going to pull out the one I have and try to cut these to the right lengths. And then I bought some fuel line here. This is made by Rotary. It's 3mm by 5mm. And then this is the Tygon line. I was having a hard time with this, and I forget the spec. I think it's 3mm by 6mm. But what they do is they convert it to US measurements. And I'm sorry, I forgot the spec, but I want to say it's 1/4 inch on the outside and 1/8 inch on the inside. But if you actually convert millimeters to inches, it's not exactly the same. It's off like 1/1000th or 2 of an inch. Now, this is actually a little bit bigger than this yellow line that came on here if I match them up. Like, it's a hair bigger. So my fear is that if I try to pull this yellow line out of this grommet and put that other one in, it's not going to fit. That's my fear. So let me pull out, I mean, just trying to move this thing in the grommet is really tough. So let me see if I can pull out the hoses from the hedge trimmer, and let's match it up and see what we got. Right, well, pulling this out, I'm going to do it with this machine in an upright position because there's gas in the tank and I don't want it to leak out. This existing grommet is all cracked on here, and the hoses that are on here are pretty shrunk, and I feel a lot better if we replace them with these new ones. So I'm going to see if I can pull this out. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like that just comes right out with no issue at all. That's how worn out it is. Huh. Yeah, so let me pull it out off camera and then we'll compare it to what we got for new. All right, let's check this out. So here's the new one and here's the old one. And if I go on the fuel line side itself, it looks like the fuel line is pretty much exactly the same length. I'm just going to have to pull this grommet down to line up there. And as far as the other lines go, this line here is for that vent canister. It's pretty much the same thing. It might be just a hair longer, but I'm going to try to put this one in as is without screwing with it and see if it will work. So stay tuned. All right, I got it in there. The hardest part of this job is pushing the plug in the hole. It's actually really hard to push it in there. You got to push with like all your might and it will go in. I ended up having to pull the lines out and moving their orientation into the block here. And look how trash this old one is. I mean, it's cracked everywhere. Look, you see this big crack here? Right over here? It's just going to make it leak gas and not be good. So, should be good there. Now I'm going to sharpen the actual bar on this thing. It's pretty dull. And I've never done this before, but I understand you just file it with a filer. Stuff is super dull. These things should all be points and they're all rounded off. So it's beyond using a file. I'm going to try using the Dremel tool to square them up here. Should be like a 45-degree angle. Half of the bar sharpened using this Dremel with this grinding stone. And now you got to sharpen the back and the front of these teeth on both sides, so it's a lot of work. So you got to push the bar so that you're not hitting the bottom teeth while you're doing the top. So I'm going to grind the backs here, and then I'll have to flip it upside down and do the same thing on the bottom. So it's kind of a lot of work. Well, that painstaking process is done. They're all sharpened them all. Are they perfect? No. Are they a lot better than what they were? Yes. Am I going to sharpen the the Queen of England's royal boxwood garden? No. I'm just doing about a dozen bushes in front of my house. It ain't a big deal. I want to show you another bar for comparison. This is a hedge trimmer bar off of a Power Attach Echo, which I bought brand new, probably around 1997 or so. And I take good care of my stuff. I've never sharpened it, but I've never abused it either. And you can see the teeth on here have a nice like 45-degree angle bevel to them. Even on the edge they do, and the edge doesn't even cut, but that's what I was trying to achieve here. On this one was a 45-degree angle cuts, which I think I did pretty good on. The other aspect of it is how tight these bolts are here, how tight they are together. Like imagine a pair of scissors and you get a sloppy pair of scissors, how crappy they cut. So it's important that the bar is tight together. These bolts here have a nylon lock nut so you can adjust their tightness. I think that these are pretty good, so I'm not going to screw with them. I had tightened them previously when I was working on the bar, so I think they're good. So let's fire it up and see how it works. I previously was trimming this one, when it was dull, and it was really giving me a hard time. So let's see what we got now. Yeah, man, I'm very happy with this thing. Very happy. So I trimmed most of the little shrubs with it. And now I'm going to bust out the big hedge trimmer and do the big ones with that, because it's a lot easier on my back. I don't have to bend over or nothing. It's awesome.